Hello! Okay, so um, we actually have really an exciting reading for today. What I want to do, so the title of this, I don't know what the title is going to end up being, but I had this date in my mind that was given to me maybe like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, of 1635. And all during that time, like 400 years has been an interesting number, the number 400. And whenever I hear 400, I always think about 400 years of slavery. That's usually what I think of. Um, and what I was picking up was that, so I ended up looking at what 400 years since 1635 would be, and it's 2035. And it got me feeling like there's something significant happening around that time. I have also been getting in a lot of readings that it's not a super prominent message, but it comes up every so often, that there are people who are doing things that are going to trigger a mass release of ancestors, which is a really big deal because, as I guess I was channeling earlier today, which let me read exactly what I wrote down. What I was channeling was, sorry, one second. Oh, did I not write it down? Oh, okay. Yeah, 400 years worth of generations of ancestors are moving on and back into nothingness. Refresh, restart. Some will be living out their final lifetime and will be ushered off in this wave of release. We will still have ancient energy, and actually, ancestors of the past 400 years have been kind of clogging up the energy portals of birth. And now we're going to have more room for more ancient ancestors to come down to Earth and bring with them profound wisdom, technology, and information that will help us develop the new world. So, kind of a big deal. Yeah, I've had that feeling about a lot of ancestors being released for a while, and I've had this desire really for a lot of energy to move on. I've just felt it within myself. The Eight of Cups continues to come out, so that must be kind of a lingering energy. But even beyond that, there are so many things that this reading that we're going to do, it's been triggering in my mind, so I've been wanting to do it. But Saturn feels significant. It's currently 2023. This reading is going to be it's going to be kind of like we're going to look into the 400 years in between, so from 1635 to 2020 to 2035. We're going to look at what is happening in 2035 that's going to be it's going to cause such a significant change, eruption, like why this is happening. And then I think it would also be cool if we can to get an understanding of what kinds of ancient ancestors are coming back. Because, yeah, like I was saying, it seems like the lives and the people that have been able to be born onto Earth for the past 400 years all kind of come from this same time space. And maybe that was intentional because there were things that needed to be worked out, and instead of just having everybody come in consistently, it's kind of like we were put into this space of like, okay, the next 400 years it will be like a revolving door of souls just processing, and it's leading to this massive breakthrough. And I was looking up on Google, I was trying to figure out how many generations are in 400 years, and they're saying anywhere between 12 to 16. So 12 to 16 generations of ancestors. And this isn't just for one person, because, well, that number is for one family, but um, this could be per family. Like, we don't know how many ancestors are actually going to be moving on. Right now, there's over 8 billion people on this planet, right? So, and I don't even know if it's just people. This could be all earth creatures. I don't know. So, but the point is there are a lot of ancestors that are moving on by 2035. From what I understand right now, we'll see what more information we get. And that means like incredible change, because there are going to be certain inheritances that are not going to exist anymore. There's going to be certain trauma that is completed. There are going to be cycles that are completed and will never be again, because you cannot recreate an ancestor. You can't recreate incarnating beings. The soul can have many lifetimes, but you can't recreate a human. You can't recreate a specific person. We are individuals. Even a clone of you is not you. You're very specific. So this is a huge deal, if you ask me. It also means that I think that 2035, I think, is going to be a time of major relief. This, obviously, because this is such an extreme energy, this can take form in many different ways. The influx, the rush of ancestors out, it also, carries death energy with it. So I don't know what that means for being down here. We'll get into all of that, but that's kind of the basis I can give you. That's really all that I know. And I don't even know exactly where to start. I think that we're going to set the intention for inquisitiveness, for curiosity, and for information to be received, and ask Spirit to guide us through this reading to bring forth exactly what it is that is important to know. And this is just, I don't have anything specific beyond my curiosity and interest that's guiding me. I'm not worried about anything. There's nothing like that. So this is really just a reading that I want to do out of interest, and because Spirit gave me that date, I feel like Spirit wants me to explore it. So it's actually really exciting, and this might be like kind of a cool like history kind of reading as well. We'll see. So in honor of the ancestors, I'm also wearing a shirt with my ancestor on it. This is John Knox Buckley. He's South African. He was a writer, a musician, a musical composer, writer. He founded schools and a church, and he was born in, when was he born? Definitely not 1922, but that's when this foundation, I believe, was born. Yeah, and last year had been 100 years. I don't know exactly when he was born. Let's look it up. Let's see. John Knox Buckley. He was born 1855. 1855, he died 1922. He was a journalist, a Presbyterian minister, and one of the Xhosa, which is my tribe, Xhosa tribe's one of the most celebrated Xhosa hymn writers and musicians. He is best known for his compositions Buka Debra, Plea for Africa, and Marriage Song. So, yeah, pretty awesome. So he's my ancestor, one of my ancestors. And yes, so I've been blabbing on. Let's get started. I don't even know where to start. Spirit, you just take us where you wanna go. What is the best way? You just guide me through this reading, because yeah, I don't know exactly where to start. So we're looking at this 100 years. A hermit, never ending. I learned something new, thank goodness. I learned something new through Nicholas Ashbaugh. He's a fantastic reader and channeler and just intuitive. I learned that the Hermit and the Star card are connected, which I didn't put together. I didn't know that. I just started doing tarot, so not I just started literally, but I just like started. Like I didn't take a class or anything, so I didn't really learn all the meanings of all the cards. So I kind of learn every day, and watching other readers helps me pick up on more connections that I didn't know about before. But so we have the Hermit, the Four of Swords, the Three of Cups, and the Ace of Pentacles. Page of Wands coming out all the time. Coming out, coming out, coming out. It's crazy. There's a lot of consistent energies here. Three of Cups even, too. All these cards except for the High Priestess, I would say, are just out and about. King of Wands sometimes pops out. Specifically for this deck, I see these cards a lot, except for the Four of Swords. Okay. Yeah, Two of Wands I see all the time. Okay. So we have the Hermit, the Four of Swords, the Three of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, the High Priestess, the Seven of Wands, the King of Wands. I keep thinking of this term called the liminal space, and I need to look up what that means. Liminal space. The liminal space refers to the place a person is in during a transitional period. It's a gap and can be physical, like a doorway, emotional, like a divorce, or metaphorical, like a decision. Ah. Interesting. Okay. The liminal space describes a place that a person is in during transition. We've been in the liminal space. Okay, we've been in the liminal space. So what does that mean? I feel like we've kind of just been functioning and living out our karma. I almost feel like we've been stalling. That's kind of what I want to say. I almost feel like we've been stalling for the past like century or two. I feel like it's not like it's almost like my ears plugged, but it's not. And it's not really like that. It's just kind of almost like that. Anyways, sorry. This is like a nonchalant reading, so, you know, I'm only expecting people to stick around who are actually very interested in things like this, which means I'm not being too hard on myself to be all perfect. Anyways, sorry, I just wanted to be comfortable. Okay, so now that I know about the liminal space, I wanna ask a specific question. Okay, so Spirit, what triggered this liminal? What triggered humanity's or Earth's entrance into this liminal space? Actually, first I have a question. So, did the liminal space begin in 1635? Did the liminal space begin in 1635? Or is the let me just ask the question for now. Did the liminal space begin in 1635? The Chariot, the Ace, the King, the Queen, the Two of Cups, the Hierophant. Okay, yes. I want to say yes. Okay. So, remember what a liminal space is. A liminal space is the place that a person is in before a transition. During a transition. The examples they gave were divorce, a doorway, a decision. What triggered this liminal space? What triggered our entrance into the liminal space? We have the King of Cups. What triggered our entrance into the liminal space? What triggered our entrance into the liminal space? When I saw the King of Cups, the first thing that I thought of was outcry or outrage, which is not usually what I pick up on with the King of Cups. But with this image specifically, I felt outcry and or outrage. What triggered our entrance into the liminal space? There's actually this energy of like, I think that part of what triggered our entrance into this liminal space, which was these 400 years from 1635 to 2035, was a departure from spirit. I think that we stopped looking up. This is complicated because this also comes alongside, the scientific revolution. All of these massively important advancements in science and medicine and intelligence and technology. But as we began to separate from and begin to consider the material world, the real world, and begin to consider what could be proven, what could be known, what a light could shine down on, what could be guided and coached and understood, what could be controlled, what could be paved, what could be easily understood, what we could become enlightened through, what we could control. Especially, there's this energy of like the Industrial Revolution and the revolution around agriculture and the way that farming stopped being so like farm to table and more of an industry, especially when it comes to the way that we consume food, and the way that we consume nature, like having massive ranches, dedicated to one specific crop, and that not going straight to people, but that instead going into an industry that would then, finding ways to stack like money, the ability to earn money onto something basic, onto basic needs. The transition into making our basic needs profitable, making profit out of providing basic needs. I think that transition caused us to look down instead of look up. It's like and I experienced this the other day. You know how little kids, they will walk around and run around, walk down the street, run through the forest, run on the beach, and they won't usually be looking down. There's some cautious kids, and they're always so noticeable because most kids just run around and they don't bother looking at their feet. But most adults keep their heads down. Most adults look at where they're walking, look at each step they're taking. There was this as we began to produce more and become more in control through our relationship with machinery, through our relationship with steel and iron, which is also this relationship with air, which is also this relationship with swords energy, with this relationship with rock consciousness and with metal. We also began to take on a different, vibration, a different expression. There's nothing wrong with these expressions, but we did this in mass, and we did this it would happen very quickly and without much balance. And too much rock consciousness doesn't leave much room for anything beyond that. Rock energy is dense. A mountain is dense. Air, it can be very, in this sense, when I'm thinking about air, I'm thinking about something that's logical, something that can be proven, something that is systemic. That is difficult if you are only seeing life from that lens, especially if that perspective is most profitable, then that is what's going to be championed. And all of these things were adding up to take our gaze. We stopped looking up and we began to look down. And I feel like that transition from looking up to not even being looking ahead. I mean, there was a time when we were looking ahead, and that was more balanced, because there was a time when we were over-reliant on the stars. There was a time when we were over-reliant on the heavens to save us and guide us. And that's why we would have these kings and these queens, and we would say they were divine beings and straight from God, and God ruled them, and writing omens for them, all these things. We were so reliant on the heavens, on the stars, to carry us through life. As we begin to shift from the space of being weighed down by our connection and our desire to be closer to spirit, and began to be more present here, we were looking forward. And being able to look forward really means just being in your surroundings. And you begin to see what you have and begin to find a way to make life better, begin to take action, begin to pursue a better life. And so it's survival, and it's innovation. It's actually becoming more self-reliant, growing up as a species that pushed us towards industry and all of these advancements. And these things are not bad. Again, this is just, it's when we get into the extreme. But then we started to become so detached from faith, basically, and so reliant on the idea that we had to take care of ourselves and that we were on our own, that we're beginning to look down. And it was this triggering of a complete block of your higher sight, of your higher vision, or your deeper vision, and this focus on the ground, which is this focus on the material, and this over-cautiousness, which actually resulted in a lot of negligence and lack of care, I think is what triggered us into this liminal space, this space of transition. What are we transitioning into? Like, what are we moving into? Because if that's what triggered it, like, where is this transition taking us? Back into balance, back into harmony. But because what I'm thinking of is, it's like, the way, like, our relationship with animals, other animals, especially like chickens and cows, like animals that we've completely domesticated, birds like pigeons, animals that we have completely domesticated, plants that we have completely domesticated, to the point where, it's rare to see them in a wild state. I don't know if I've ever seen a wild cow. I don't know. I've never seen a wild cow. I know I haven't. I don't even know what that would be like. So in that state of control, being in that state of control is what has, and that's interesting though, because some of these things happened way back then. Some of these things happened, what is this liminal space doing? Because what did we, okay, so that ushers us, that's what triggers the liminal space. And that's interesting because a lot of that is futuristic energy because some of these things hadn't exactly happened yet. But the spirit is always ahead because it's not, time isn't real. So the spirit was already ahead, entering into this transition before we had even began to be triggered by what would send us into this space. So the spirit is ahead of the body. The spirit is ahead of the body. Huh. You know what this is making me think of? This time, not this time last year, maybe it was 2 years ago now. I think it was. That's crazy. Maybe it wasn't. Anyways, I had this, no, it was 2 years ago now. It was like May or April, like 2 years ago. I was having a lot of downloads and a lot around nothingness, a lot around the universe and spirit and darkness and spirit's relationship with their own darkness. And I was talking a lot about how I don't like the idea that energy can't die, and that I think it's something that needs to happen, and that the universe needs to experience a death because we are so focused on expanding, discovering creation, that we have forgotten the magic of our own darkness. We have forgotten the magic of our own stillness. And I've been saying that I feel like we are moving into a space of death energy where the universe, where spirit will get a chance to experience their first death. Because the planet has died a quadrillion times, right? We've all died so many times. We all know about death, which is why, that's why Earth is so important, because Earth is a planet that really knows about death very well and knows how to come alive again after death. Earth is a perfect example of rebirth energy and of resilience and of the cycles of life. And if there's something that we can learn from Earth, it is how to properly die, be in that death state, and then be reborn and do it again and understand the process of acceptance and moderation and balance that has to happen. And this process of looking at the sky and then looking at your surroundings and then looking at the ground, I feel like there's a lot we can learn from yoga. There's a lot we can learn from stretching, because this is like a stretch. And you need this in order to function properly. You need to be able to move and do all these things. If you only ever look this way, you're going to limit yourself. If you only ever look this way, you'll limit yourself. If you only ever look this way, you'll limit yourself. We have to do it all. I think that we are learning how to move through these motions with more agility and more quickly. I feel like we are completing, it's almost like we are completing a stretch, but it's like we are completing a motion. And once we complete this motion, we will know how to do this. It's almost like it's like a body learning how to work. It's like the first time you do this, you know that you can now do this. And so you start to do it all the time. And if you've never stretched your muscles before, you won't understand what that feels like and what that does for you. So the first time you do that is really important because it helps you understand that you can. And there's some type of energy like that that's coming into play, like a foundational element of movement, of motion that we all need in order to properly function that could be connected to the crown, the third eye, and the throat chakra. Specifically because I'm thinking about these. This is also the process, but this is what I'm talking about. This is the process of ascension, but this is not about one thing being better than the other. It could be that for the beginning of our experience on this planet, we've been focusing on the lower chakras. So the chakra that's beneath even your root chakra, I don't remember what that one is called, the soul star, the earth star chakra, something like that. The one that's beneath, then you have your root chakra, then you have your sacral, then you have your solar plexus, then you have your heart. There's something here about the throat, the third eye, the crown chakra, and isn't there something else about there? And wasn't it like in other lifetimes, in other eras on Earth, they had like 12 chakras? There's probably an infinite amount of chakras, right? But I think that we are moving up the scales. And I actually think that we've passed the heart, which is funny because we have so many conversations around the heart chakra, the heart, your heart, your heart, your heart. I really think it's focused on the throat, the third eye, and the crown, and whatever is above there. But I actually think it's these three chakras that are defining our lifetime and defining this era. And I think we're past the heart, which is why I think I actually understand, because I saw this video that was like the idea of love being the answer for all as like one of the new age philosophies. It's lethal. It's a lethal weapon. And I haven't gotten the time to think about that much, but I understand what they're saying if you connect it to the heart chakra in the way that we're so focused on the heart. But there's something like it, but we're actually past that. So it's almost like focusing on the past. But, okay, lead me, spirit. You just lead me. Oh. Temperance. Well, it's kind of honestly like we've all been living. It's kind of like we've been living underground or living caged, like, because we're completing the motion. I think by 2035, we will realize that it's time that you don't just stay here, that you go back up. And then we will be able to do this more smoothly. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of you can access the heavens, you can access the now, you can access, what would the ground even be? Stability? Like control, stability, grounding, gravity, mountain energy, like stability, rock energy, stability. Yeah, you can access all these things in one swift motion. That's just like, I think we're just learning how to move. I really feel like we're learning how to move. I think yoga could be an incredible way to meditate on what's happening here. Would probably provide you with some insights for sure, but there's this energy of like, it's almost like we are rising above ground. And if the heart chakra is representative of earth, then it would make sense that the next step, which is the throat chakra, which is air energy, which is communication energy. And it's funny because we don't have any air here yet. We don't have any air here. No air energy right here. And no air energy right now. It would make sense that now that we've surpassed the heart chakra, that we are now above ground, because the earth really is like right here and below. And then everything that rises up is like, a creation of the earth, a manifestation of the earth, an expression of the earth. But earth is like soil, you know, and we've been in that. It's almost like we've just been below ground growing roots. We've been below ground building a network, and we are about to pop up out into the open again. And like the last time we were out here, I think was more than 400 years ago. And in that 400 year time period, I think that we have been below ground. I think that there are seeds that our ancient ancestors, it's way more than 400 years ago, I think, but I think that there are seeds, and maybe one of the last seeds that was planted by our ancient ancestors was with the intention of this to grow 400 years from now. And I feel as though it's coming to fruition now. I feel as though we are popping out of the underground. That's what I feel. And realizing that there is a life above ground. I feel like we are going like this. I feel like that your higher self, it's just your throat, your third eye, and your crown. That's what I feel like your higher self is. It's just tapping into your higher chakras. That's it. And we've just been learning how to move from our base, but now it's time to complete the motion. And you know what? I think we began in our crown. We began, in this energy of looking up. And then we slowly began to look down. And there has to be an acceptance that you don't stay here. You don't just sit here. You don't just stay looking here. You look back up. And I think as we raise our head, we will remember that we've actually done this. And we've already done this. We've just done it in the opposite. I think there's going to be a lot of deja vu. And I think there's going to be a lot of remembering. Like, I think we are going to remember. I think we're going to remember the past in a way that none of us know, because so many of us don't have access to information from more than 400 years ago in a way that we really know and understand, unless you're an expert. And the digital obviously only has what we've written and recorded from before 400 years ago, but right now, where I think a lot of our memories that we truly know and understand come from has been the past 400 years. And you could have past life memories and all of that, and understandings of history that go far beyond that, stretch far beyond that. But I think it's still with the consciousness of within these 400 years. The ancestors that knew of lifetimes in ancient Egypt, way back then, they knew it from their consciousness at that point, which has still been affected. I think that we are about to begin within these next 12 years, and then post 2035, I think there is going to be a major wave of remembering, because it's like remembering how to do emotion. And we are going to remember that I think for sure it's going to become undeniable that people have lived multiple lifetimes. I think that that's going to become common knowledge. I think it's going to become undeniable that it's not just death and that's it. It's going to become undeniable that we reincarnate. And I think we're going to begin to realize that maybe some of the history that we've been told isn't true, because we're going to remember what actually happened. I think we're also going to become incredibly smart. I think that our intelligence is going to go up. because we're going to have access to information that we might have lost. I think that theories are going to be proven wrong. Others, new theories are going to come up and are going to be proven right. I think there's going to be a lot of innovation post 2035. And I think up until then, there's going to be a lot of tension, confusion, heaviness, and questions about what am I doing here? Because and desire to move out of this position. Because when your head is just like this, you're not happy. You're like, you want to look up, but you're afraid. You want to look up and look at the trees as you walk around, but you're afraid. You're afraid you're gonna fall. You're afraid you're gonna step on something. You're afraid. You're afraid. You're gonna get sick of that, and you're just gonna do it. This is the breakthrough. These next 12 years are the breakthrough period when we get sick of being like this, and we're like, I'm just gonna fucking look up. And then I think it's gonna happen fast. I think that these next 12 years are going to be tension filled. I think they're going to be filled with a lot of questions. I think some people are going to get there, look up a lot faster than others. But I think the last of us will be looking up at around 2035. And I think after that, I don't think that anyone is going to be looking down because they can't look up. I think everybody will have the ability to, which also means major spiritual upgrades, major spiritual revelations, major gifts on this planet. And the children that are going to be born post 2035 and even in this time working up to this, I think are going to be rich in wisdom and knowledge of an ancient world. The Hanged Man. Yeah, because I also feel like there is something that is watching us. King of Swords. There's the swords. I have Strength here, the Hanged Man, Judgment, and the Chariot. All major arcana. 2035 and the years after that, I'm excited, to be honest. I do completely understand that this is going to be serious energy, but to be honest, I'm excited because we are actually living in an age where there's going to be profound change that I can't even imagine, that most of us can't really imagine. We don't understand it because our consciousness is being locked in this liminal space. We literally can't. I think that there are going to be some of us who can access the consciousness that is beyond that 400-year space. And I don't just mean that you only know things from 400 years ago. I just mean that what our ancient ancestors from 400 years ago knew about all the things way beyond them, you only know it from that perspective. And I think that that's for a reason. Because I think if you were able to access information outside of that limit of consciousness, I think it would have been too much. I think it wouldn't have worked. I think it would have thrown us all out of balance. I think we all had to be in the same space of access. We all have access to the same 400-year consciousness, weight of consciousness on everything else. I hope that makes sense. It's like you can have a 400-year-old perspective of something that is 25,000 years old, but it's from your 400-year, from the perspective you had in 1635. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything seems to be locked into that space. There also seems to be something that has their eyes on us. There's something that is watching. It could be animals. It could be other creatures, other earth beings. what is this? What is this? For one, we could begin to be able to really communicate with other animals. Like, we might be able to really communicate with animals in these next upcoming years. Five of Pentacles. There's something here around veterans and like warriors, war heroes, all of those who've served in battle. I think that there's going to be a major discussion or look into the poverty that accompanies a life in service to war. A lot of veterans suffer with homelessness, suffer with mental health problems, suffer with loneliness, suffer with addiction, suffer with depression, suffer with incredible amounts of trauma. And I think that there's going to begin on mass levels, there's going to be this questioning of why do we put ourselves, why are we in these positions? Why do we fight wars? Not why do we fight, why do we have violence? Violence, fighting, battles, all of that is kind of just natural. War is not. War, I don't believe, is natural to Earth. War is an energy that comes from outside of Earth. It's a cosmic energy, but it's not from Earth. I think there's going to be, in these next 12 years and post 2035, I think that there's going to be a major, either sink in the amount of soldiers that exist on Earth. I think people are not going to sign up to fight wars. I don't think people are going to fight wars. And I think that's going to change everything. Because then it's just going to be 12 people with an incredible amount of wealth and power trying to make something happen that can't happen, because you can't have a war if you don't have people willing to fight this war. Now, this is all happening alongside a conversation that I'm seeing here with the Hanged Man, which is AI and technology. Because I absolutely think there's going to be a lack of human soldiers. I do not think people are going to go to war. I think people are not going to. And because they're going to see that being a soldier leads to a life of poverty in one way or another, and a life of loss in one way or another that isn't worth it and isn't natural and has no value. And I think that that awakening is going to cause a real drought in terms of where these specific people that we can't see, we don't know who these people are, where they get their power from. Because they get it from us, they get it from other people. So there's going to be an attempt to redirect. And so speak to me about the shadow in this Hanged Man. Because our enlightenment and our awakening, the other aspect to that is massive shadow, right? Massive darkness, massive dissension, which actually doesn't have to be from a lot of people. It can be from the combined sorrow and suffering of a few people with a lot of power, with a massive shadow. Those people and their destructive tendencies, because they're suffering, coming to light through the attempt to use these clones. There is this energy of the empty being, an empty being cohabitating in the same space as those with aliveness, those with a spirit. So there's this rise of the goddess, of the energy of nothingness, which is a beautiful energy, but a complicated energy. And in order to not be afraid of nothingness or not misinterpret nothingness, you've got to be really, really comfortable with the understanding that you really don't know anything and you don't understand how all of this has happened and how we are all here and what keeps us here. You have to sacrifice and surrender to not knowing, lack of knowledge. I think that actually the rejection of information, the rejection of knowledge, in some ways is one of the best things that we might be able to do in these next few years. The rejection of awareness, like not always following what's happening in the media, not giving into conversations about this AI thing and this reconstruction of this dead animal, all these things, because that puts us in a different relationship with nothingness compared to this other aspect of nothingness that we could be on the receiving end of, which is empty life forms, which are clones, which is like technology, animals being recreated through technology that aren't here anymore. So their souls aren't here anymore. Their spirits aren't here anymore, but they're here. So what is that? What kind of expression of life is that? I don't know whether, I don't have it in me to be able to say what's wrong and what's right about that, because I really don't know. I think we just need to be aware of what's possible that we will be living around. Because what is it like to live with something that doesn't have a soul, you know? Or it doesn't have a spirit that's rooted to something? I don't know. Because right now everything on this planet has a soul, whether we want to admit it or not. But and I think this is going to be linked to people not going to war, to people not signing up for wars. I think this is also going to link or connect to the downfall of systems and perhaps like nations and governments, corporations, and the rise of these technologies to try and replace our labor. And then it's also going to become I think we're going to become very clear over these next 12 years and post 1635 exactly what these wars are about. And we're going to realize it's got nothing to do with anything that's really happening down here and a whole lot to do with what's happening up there. And I think that Earth and Earth beings are going to enter the spiritual conversation. We are going to enter the cosmic conversation. I think by 2035, we are going to have a seat at the table in a profound way as Earth beings, not just as people that were chosen by people we don't even know or see. We are going to have a seat at the table in terms of a discussion about our greater universe, our greater galaxy. I think that's when alien life and all of those conversations are really going to start to pick up in a way that is just unbelievable. There's a lot of positivities here. And there's a lot of positivity here. There's a lot of ancient energy coming back into the fold. A lot of revelations. I think it's freaking awesome. I'm a little weary or cautious of this AI energy. I definitely feel like animals are going to start to look at us differently, and I feel like they are going to be the other animals, like every collection of life is going to be going through an awakening, not just human beings. So everyone is going to be waking up. Every element, every aspect of existence is going to be waking up and advancing. And I think the animals are going to be looking at us differently. We are animals too, but you know what I mean. I think there's going to be more of a recognition in a way that is stunning. You have the Three Pentacles. The way that we work is absolutely going to change. work is not going to be what we know it to be right now. Work will be something that, like, we are going to be working in a different way. There's going to be a lot of healing. But spiritual work is going to be the most profound work that is being done. By 2035, spiritual work is going to be the most profound work that is being done on this planet. The most energy and labor is going to be being put into spiritual work. The King of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah. Something is waking up here. I just feel like we are being seen, we are being heard, and I feel like we're also becoming more visible, and different realms on Earth are becoming more visible to us, like the mirror realm. The mirror realm, the smudge people, what I call them, the smudge people, the people that you see in glass, on glass prints, smudged. The mirror realm, which I often see looking out a window and looking at nature. There are realms on Earth that are going to become visible to us again. Realms we haven't seen since before that 400-year period. It's funny because I've been talking a lot with my coworker about DMT and how scientists are like, yeah, they're mapping out the DMT realm and all of these things. And it's like, yeah, you're not going to need drugs though. You're not going to need anything. This is something that you will just be coexisting with. For one, we are going to have to learn to share our reality, because we're going to realize it doesn't just belong to us, that we have been living alongside other energies and spirits the entire time. I just feel like the world is going to look a lot more geometrical. Like, we're going to be seeing shapes. I think that our vision is literally going to look different, because the third eye is literally part of that. Like, your vision is going to look different. The way that you speak might literally be different in the next 12 years. There might be a profound shift in what you see and what you speak and how you think. And I think that geometry is going to come back into the fold. There's going to be a lot around architecture, numbers, geometry, numbers, architecture, layouts. Like, I think we'll be able to see finer details. Kind of like, I feel like we're receiving codes. Like, it's like that energy of like the blueprint, the codes. I feel like this is what they mean when they're like, you're 3D, you're 5D. Like, our worlds are literally being unveiled. Layers are being taken off, and we are able to see more clearly. Oh, what's this? The Ace of Wands. To be honest, I'm just not sure that AI is going to be something for us to really worry about. I think that's an illusion, because there's just a whole lot else going on. Yeah, I think it's kind of a distraction, because AI is not the most advanced technology that has ever existed on this planet. We just don't have access to the most advanced technology that has ever existed on this planet right now. AI is advanced. but it's not all that. It's interesting and it's advanced and it's important and it's going to be important. Yes, all these things, but it's not really all that it's being made up to be. And when you look at AI art, you can tell it's AI. And when you read an AI book, you can tell it's AI. When you see an image of somebody, you can see that it's AI. I haven't been able to be tricked by AI yet. Is it going to get more advanced? Yes. But is it still going to be technology? Yes. I don't know if we should be freaking out about it as much. I think it might be a bit of a distraction to be so afraid of that when we've been living with technology, most of us, I've been living with technology my whole life. I know technology very well. I know that I will absolutely be able to distinguish human energy from AI energies. It's very obvious. And if it's not obvious to you, you are going to have an intuitive awakening because it should be. So that's something that you actually do need to work on. If it's not obvious to you, you should really work on that. And what really is going to have to happen is, what are you willing to accept? SAG was a brilliant, move in not accepting, allowing AI to take over. But I don't think AI is the conversation we even need to really be having. I feel like there's a blueprint for a technology that is much more interesting, that is going to come into awareness in these next few years. If you start to get an idea for something that you've never seen exist before, and it feels profound, I would write it down. I would write it down and I would explore it, because a lot of us are going to be receiving information that can really take your life to the next level in terms of what you create here, how quickly you can get into your purpose, how supported you can be, what kind of life you end up having to live for the rest of these years. Because I do think that we are going through climate change, so we are going to be affected. We are going to experience major loss. The world is changing. But at the same time, we are evolving. And the information that we are getting back can help us, can help you, can help your community, can help your family. You are good enough and you are worthy of receiving this information. You are meant to receive this and you are meant to do something with it. All of us are going to be receiving information. It's not a coincidence that you were born during this time period. It's not a coincidence, especially if you're younger, because you're going to be living out past that 2035 date, which is a big deal. For those of us who will be adults and decision makers by 2035, and I mean decision makers, now is the time to really work on your self-worth. Because when you start to receive this information, when you start to be guided, you don't want to miss your train. Don't just think, oh, well, that's an interesting idea and let it float off. Because we're still human, okay? So we're still going to have all these other things and you still have free will. It's going to be a smooth transition. It's going to happen so quickly but so slowly that you don't completely realize. But you're going to receive information, and some of us might receive the same things. So at some point, it's just going to be a matter of who chooses to do it. I would really choose to follow whatever blueprint you are given, whatever map you are given, whatever information you're given, follow it. Do something about it. You don't need to complete everything and know everything. Just do something about it. Write it down. Talk about it. Do something. Ask a question. Okay? Because I think that a lot of us are receiving the information that is going to be pivotal in building our next reality, one that works with the communities that we are becoming connected to, the galactic communities that we are becoming connected to, the different expressions of earth beings that we are becoming connected to, like advanced systems, blueprints, technologies, whatever, information, guidance. Everyone's going to receive something. No one's being left out of this. Everyone's going to be receiving something, probably multiple things. Take what you receive it, write it down, follow it. Every single one of us are innovators. Every single one of us are artists. Every single one of us are incredibly wise researchers, scientists, experimenters, every single one of us in our own ways. What you receive, you are meant to receive. It is for you. And if you don't do something with it, it could possibly go to somebody else, because things that are actually meant for this planet are going to be here whether you choose to do something about it or not. Someone else will just do it. Okay? So there is also a time aspect to this. There's definitely a time aspect to this. Trust your vision. Trust your sight. You are good enough. You are worthy. If you do anything over these next 12 years, work on your confidence, work on your self-worth, work on your belief in yourself, because you're going to be asked to do some things that are very courageous, and you're going to be asked to really step out of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable, because you're going to be doing things that might feel crazy, because we're all still coming from this world. And when I tell you this world is not the world we are going to be living in 12 years from now, I mean it. I'm not just saying things. I feel this. So really work on your belief, your faith. If you work on anything over these next 12 years, work on your faith. You need to have strong faith, strong belief in yourself, strong self-worth, and a feeling of service. A feeling of service to a greater cause, a greater collective that goes beyond you, from a place of gratitude and love. Because the system that we want to put into place needs to be something that serves our humanity, that serves our nature, our human, our earth nature. Like I said before, I don't think that war is natural to Earth. I just don't. I don't think it is. I think we're going to discover what's natural to us, and I think it's going to be like, holy fuck. Because first of all, we already knew it, but we didn't know it. We've been in this liminal space. We didn't have access to it. And beyond that, it's going to be surprising, because it's going to be all the things that they said is unrealistic and that we can never have. You can never have peace on Earth. You can't live in a utopia. Those are all the things that are natural to Earth. Those are all the things that Earth is just at her core. And that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean all love and light. Earth is a badass bitch with all these different ranges of energy. But all of our understandings of the darker aspects of Earth that are so demonized and so negative, and even the energy of demons being such an overall negative, evil thing, all of that is going to come into question. And we're going to begin to wonder what's really evil, and what really causes evil on this planet. Wars, greed, corruption. Why would you need to be greedy on a planet that has everything in abundance? Earth is so abundant. Why do you need to be greedy? That's not a natural instinct of an energy that is from this planet. Greed comes from something else. Somewhere else. I'm not saying it's bad. It is an energy. I don't know if it comes from Earth. And I think it's weird. It's interesting that greed gets green as its color, and even is so similar to the color green, which we associate so heavily with Earth. Because I don't think that greed comes from here. It's not natural. There's so much abundance. No matter where you are. The places where it now seems barren and like there's nothing is not because it's naturally that way. That's because of this thing called greed that comes from where? We're going to start to question the ancestry of some energies that are on this planet, the ancestry of some ideas, some systems. And it's going to become clear to us that there's been some manipulation and there's been some interference, and some people are lying, and some things are lying. Hold on. Page of Wands. What is going on with you in the Page of Discs and the Five of Cups? You want to be out, okay? What is this Page of Wands? Speak to us about this Page of Wands. Everybody's broomstick is going to look different. Everybody's source of magic, of practice of magic, practice of spirituality, practice of faith is going to look different. Mind your business. Do not judge other people's ways of faith. Mind your business. What is this Page of Wands? Ace of Wands. I feel like there's this realization that we are all our own totems, that we are all our own, like, gods, that we are our own totems, that we are our own channels, that we are our own source, that we are the source, we are the totem, we are the channel. I feel like there is this activation of our totems, of our channels, of our source. I also feel like there's this life to inanimate objects that is coming up too. Recognizing the life in what we thought was inanimate, which can include like plants, but also like objects. I think we're going to begin to realize that objects have a lot more energy than we thought. And not just the things that we, consider like, connected to like things that have spirits, like candles and voodoo dolls and what else? I don't know. Things like that. Like everything has life. Everything has spirit. And it's probably going to make us call into question our relationship with consumerism, because what do you want in your space? Now that you can really pick up on all these energies. And what do you do with these things now? Yeah, there's also this energy of like, how do we clean this place up? I think that's also going to be something coming into question. Like, what do we do with all these things? What do we do with all this energy? I feel like we're going to come into this awareness that everything that's down here needs to have a purpose, because the purpose of Earth is life and the cycles and abundance, but within reason and within control. And I think we're all going to realize that we all need to take on a bit of a janitorial status and begin cleaning things up and conserving and making the most of what you have and not needing anything new, and realizing that when your need for something new comes up, you really just need to commune with spirit and figure out what needs to fill that hole spiritually that is manifesting as a physical, material need. I think we're going to start to get a lot more fulfillment from our faith and get fed through our faith rather than our reliance on the material. And there's this energy of it's going to be all of us. No matter how old you are, everyone is going to be entering into this new beginning. Every single one of us. None of us will be spared. We are all going to have this new beginning. All ages. And it's going to transform your life. What else? Is there anything else right now? We have the 10 of Pentacles. I also think there's going to be a mass awakening of children. A mass awakening of children. They might start to say things and do things that freak you out. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? But also a mass awakening of the inner child. And I think that this mass awakening of the inner child is going to spur a lot of triggers about what the am I doing with my life. Because the inner child is going to become so loud and so powerful and so resonant with your spirit that you are going to go to work and like it's going to be insufferable if you are not doing work that you enjoy. The inner child is going to be wreaking havoc on your mental and emotional stability if you are working jobs that don't fulfill you, or if you are living your life in a way that doesn't fulfill you. The inner child is going to throw a tantrum, and it's going to wreak havoc in your stability, in your like personal, emotional stability. So this is also a time to take it seriously when you are being offered movement that moves you and positions you in a place of working with your passions, with your desires. I don't think the inner child is going to have it, and I think that even the inner child is what's going to lead to this this refusal of war work and war labor. And I also think this is connected to child labor. You know how many children are making the things that we have? I think that there's going to be a mass uprising in that field. Children are not going to be doing that, which means the labor is going to be taken back quite a bit. And then within adults, the inner child is going to refuse. And the inner child is your core because that is how you began on this planet as a child. And that's like baby things. So when it refuses, it refuses. Like you can't argue with a baby. You can't argue with a baby. That baby will cry and you will want to die. It's the worst. Anyone who's been around a newborn or a child knows that. You can't really argue with them because they ultimately do know best. It's just that the way that they communicate, you don't always understand what it is that they know. And so it's hard to help them. But this time, there's going to be a very clear communication of what you both know. And there's going to be a refusal to allow you to do anything other than what feels best, what you know is best. If you are fighting to try and maintain some sense of your normal life, the world you knew before, the life you knew before, good luck. I don't see how it's possible, to be completely honest. I just don't see how it's possible for you to not adapt. You are going to have to adapt. Many of us are absolutely going to have to leave our jobs, leave our towns, leave everything, leave your belief systems behind, and acknowledge the truth. I just think that the pieces are being put together. I think there's a lot of realizations, a lot of awakenings, and there's going to be an awakening around mothers as well. Mothers and motherhood, and just how much we do, and just how important we are on this planet, beyond being the ones that give birth and all these things. I think that we are going to recognize that we actually are, like, we're doing work. Like what the women were talking about in the 70s about how women should be paid for raising their children and being and housework and all of these things. They were onto something, because I think that there's going to be a conversation about that, something similar to that coming up again. And I think women are going to be, especially as there's a spiritual awakening and we get to understand exactly what it is that we all do, and how we all function, and what it means to be in our different roles that are given to us down here on this planet, like with the bodies that we come in. I think that there's going to be a reckoning for women. There's going to be a reckoning for people who have periods and give birth and have a womb, because there's going to be a revelation around womb energy and just how connected we are to the spirit realm, and just how often that tether is abused. And I think that there's going to be reckoning in the spiritual courts around the abuse of women and the abuse of people whose bodies are connected that closely to spirit and to the spiritual realm. Because I think it's going to be revealed that many spirits are traveling through us and using us as hosts without our consent. And I think that there's going to be a reckoning amongst incarnating beings who have wombs, who have portals within them. And I think there's going to be a reckoning for the masculine as well. I just don't know exactly what it is. Maybe realizing that the work that you're doing is not the work that you want to be doing. It's not the work that provides you meaning. Because this emperor always looks so miserable to me. He just never seems happy. And I feel like for the masculine, there is this pressure that's being taken off. This crown energy, this pope energy is being taken off of the masculine. There might not be any more popes, or like any more like male popes, and all these rules, strict rules around religion when it comes to men. I think like the patriarchy, I think is going to be taken down by men. I think men are going to be like, I don't want this. You take this crown off, because you realize it's not a freaking crown. It's like a boulder. It's crushing you. And I think you're going to realize where the value actually is. So everybody's getting their awakening. But women are definitely going to be going through something. Wow. What a crazy 12 years. Is there anything on spirit? I don't think so. I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, 9 of Pentacles. Okay, you guys. So I really hope that you enjoyed that reading, and if you picked up on anything, let me know, because I'd like to know what you guys got from that, and if you have anything to share. And yeah, I'll be back with other videos, so yes, bye.